Uh, yeah, yeah.
Question 1. A newly married couple is meeting with you for their initial assessment. During the assessment, they disclose challenges with communication and have been arguing more frequently. During the session, the wife states that the primary reason for the arguments is due to the husband's quick temper, inconsistency, and constant state of irritability. As the social worker, what is the best way to respond? All right, y'all. So, question 1 is asking us for the absolute best option out of all of our answer selections here. So, let's go in and focus in on some of the key components of this scenario. So, we know we are meeting with a newly married couple for the very first time. We know it's first because it's their initial assessment. So, we are still trying to build a rapport with them. During the assessment, they disclose they are having challenges with communication and they've been arguing more frequently. Now, during the session, the wife's like, you know what? The primary reason for our arguments is due to my husband's quick temper. He's inconsistent and he's always irritated. So, as the social worker, what is going to be the best way that you respond in this situation? Are you going to do A? What have you changed to make the situation better? No, we are going to rule this one out. And the reason we are doing so, because this comes from a blaming standpoint. We do not want to do that during our initial assessment. We don't want to do that anyway, but especially during the initial. So we're going to rule that out. B, what are you doing to make your husband angry? Again, we are going to rule this one out. C, please tell me more about your husband's temper. Okay, let's hold on to it. And the reason I'm holding on to this because this is a open-ended question, right? So out of all of the other ones, we are going to ask this one possibly because we want to gather more information. But let's look at D. Thank you for sharing, but right now I want to hear from your husband and get his perspective of the problem. Okay, so if I was in this situation and I'm stuck between C and D, I am going to pick D. And the reason that I want to do that because I know my role as a social worker, seeing a newly married couple, I am supposed to remain neutral and allow both partners the opportunity to express their feelings. So as the social worker, it's your responsibility to facilitate discussion of the issue, and you can do this by asking for clarification about specific statements made by both partners. So for answer 1, D is going to be the correct answer. Question 2. Jason strongly believes he is the god of the land, even though it's inaccurate and there is evidence against his beliefs. Jason's thoughts are an example of which of the following? Okay, so this is a straight recall question, y'all. So the thing that's very important here is Jason, who's our client, he has very strong beliefs that he is God of the land. Now, in this scenario, it's informing us that this information is inaccurate and there's evidence against Jason's beliefs. So, if we look down at our answer selections, is Jason exhibiting factors of magic thinking, ideas of reference, or delusions? In this situation, the correct answer is going to be C, delusions. So, delusions are thoughts that one believes are accurate, even though there is evidence against those said beliefs. Magic thinking and ideas of reference are not going to be the correct answer because magic thinking is going to be the thought process used when an individual attributes experiences and perceptions to unnatural phenomena. Question 3. You are employed as an inpatient social worker in a hospital setting and have been working with Jasmine, a 17-year-old trans woman with severe conduct disorder. Previously, Jasmine has been physically aggressive in her home setting and has caused severe property damage. It is your recommendation that the best placement for Jasmine would most likely be. All right, y'all. So in question 3, we are looking at the best placement options for Jasmine. So let's go back here and highlight some of our key components. So what is your role as a social worker, right? You are an inpatient social worker. You're employed in a hospital setting, and you've been working with Jasmine, who's 17 and she's a trans woman. However, this is key here. So Jasmine has been diagnosed with severe conduct disorder. Previously, Jasmine has been physically aggressive in her home setting, and she's caused severe property damage. So given all of this information, what is going to be the best placement option for Jasmine? Is it A, complete a referral to a residential treatment facility for youth? No, we are going to rule this out. This is not going to be the most effective and most appropriate thing in this situation. B, discharge Jasmine to a group home with permissive living structure. Possibly, so let's hold on to it. C, discharge Jasmine to a residential school where she will be exposed to routines, clear expectations, and relationships with adults and peers. Okay, this is a really strong answer, so let's hold on to C. D, discharge Jasmine to a day treatment facility that focuses on youth with challenging behaviors. Okay, so we are going to rule D out. So we are stuck between B and C. We are either going to place Jasmine in a group home with permissive living structure, or we're going to send her to a residential school where she can be exposed to routines, clear expectations, and improve her relationships with adults and peers. So if we focus back in this scenario and we look at all the things that Jasmine has done, knowing that she has severe conduct disorder, she's physically aggressive, and she's caused severe property damage, the best placement option for Jasmine is going to be C. We are going to expose her to routines, to expectations, and we are going to work on the improvement of her relationships. Question 4. A married couple has adopted a 3-year-old boy. However, the boy's medical history reports a low birth weight, slow growth, and facial abnormalities. Which of the following best describes the 3-year-old boy? All right, so we need to just focus in on the characteristics that are describing this 3-year-old boy, right? Because that is what the question is asking us. It says, which of the following best describes the 3-year-old boy? So we know this 3-year-old boy's medical history has indicated a low birth weight, slow growth, and facial abnormalities. So if we look at our answer selections, we have A, autism spectrum disorder, B, child neglect, C, neurocognitive disorder, or D, fetal alcohol syndrome. So this is a straight recall question. So the answer is going to be D, fetal alcohol syndrome. So when a woman is pregnant and they are consuming alcohol during pregnancy, these are all of, well, not all of them, but these are some of the examples that can happen when a child is born. And then additionally, this is also an indicator of neglect. However, the one that's going to best describe this situation is going to be that fetal alcohol syndrome. Question 5. You are employed in the emergency department of a hospital. You are approached by a young woman who appears shaken and shares she just witnessed a train crash and there were multiple fatalities. As the medical social worker, you were able to ensure the client was safe and unharmed. What is the next thing that you do? Okay, so our key word here is next. So that means we are going to place all of our answer selections in sequential order, and also that this scenario has already informed us what has been done by the social worker. So let's focus in on some of our key components here, right? So we know you are employed in an emergency department of a hospital. A young woman approaches you and she appears shaken and she shares she just witnessed a train crash and there were multiple fatalities. As the medical social worker, you were able to ensure that the client was safe and unharmed. So what is going to be the next thing that you do after you've ensured that the client was safe and unharmed? Are you going to A, develop an action plan, B, assess the client's coping skills, C, build a rapport with the client and make psychological contact, or D, inform the client you cannot assess her and she must check in with the receptionist? Okay, so if I were to rule these out, D is going to be the first thing that just has to go. No way are we going to be like, yeah, we can't see you, I need you to check in. We're not going to do that. Next thing we're going to do is we're going to rule out A. We are not going to develop an action plan with this client. You just met her. We don't know anything about this client. So therefore, that further means that we are going to rule out B. We are not going to assess the client's coping skills in the middle of an emergency department, right? So C is going to be the correct thing that we do. We want to make sure that we build that solid rapport with the client, and then we're going to make psychological contact. So since the woman is safe and able to communicate with you, the next thing that you want to do is establish that therapeutic bond that will direct all later developments of her progress. Question 6. You are working with a family of 4 with incestuous relationship. Which of the following best describes the family's characteristics? Okay, so key word here, right? Incest relationships. Which one of these is going to best describe the family's characteristics? This is a straight recall question. All right, is this going to be a triangle relationship, a disengaged family, or an enmeshed family member? So the correct answer is going to be C, enmeshed. Whenever you all see incest or incestuous, I want you to correlate that word to enmeshed. So this is going to describe a family where there are absolutely no boundaries. And those family members that are in those enmeshed family dynamics are those members who have very vague role boundaries between them, and they are completely opposite to disengaged families because they allow little independence. Shiloh has been diagnosed with autism spectrum disorder and is being treated at the local community practice. Each time Shiloh initiates a conversation or asks questions to the clinician, he is provided with a piece of candy and a smile by the clinician. However, when Shiloh does not speak, the clinician does not provide a smile nor candy. This is an example of. Okay, so let's go back into this scenario and let's look at what Shiloh has been doing, right? So our client is Shiloh. We know he's been diagnosed with autism spectrum disorder and he's being treated by you at the local community practice. Now, each time Shiloh initiates a conversation or he asks a question to you, you provide him with a piece of candy and you smile. However, when Shiloh does not speak, you do not provide him with a smile or a piece of candy. So what type of example is this? Is this negative reinforcement, positive reinforcement, shaping, or psychotherapy? So again, this is a straight recall question. We need to know what each of these mean. So the correct answer here is going to be C. Shaping is the process of changing behavior by rewarding steps toward the behavior. Negative reinforcement is when the rate of behavior increases because a stimulus is removed. We didn't remove anything and that rate of behavior did not increase in this situation with Shiloh. And psychotherapy refers to talk therapy, which occurs between a client and a clinician. So the correct answer is going to be C, shaping. Question 8. You are employed as a social worker in a domestic violence shelter. During an initial session with a new client, you were informed she was recently sexually assaulted and displaced. After completing a safety assessment, you were able to ensure the safety of the client and she's not in danger to herself or others. You were able to build a rapport with the client and she's expressed she feels comfortable speaking with you. What is the next thing you should do to help the client resolve her crisis? Okay, so let's focus in on some of our key components here. So your role in this scenario is you are a social worker employed in a domestic violence shelter. You are completing an initial session with a new client. During this first session, the client's like, you know what, I was sexually assaulted and I was displaced. So the next thing that you did, you said, okay, let me create a safety assessment, and you were able to ensure that the safety of the client and she's not at danger to herself or others. On top of that, you were able to build a rapport with the client. And now the client has expressed to you that she feels comfortable speaking with you. So given this situation, what is going to be the next thing that you do to help the client resolve her crisis? Are you going to do A, identify the major problems? Okay, let's hold on to this one. This is a strong possibility. Are we going to do B, work with the client to complete an action plan? No, not necessarily. And the reason why we're going to rule B out is because we don't know what the problems are. How are we going to create an action plan without knowing the problems, right? C, provide the client with coping strategies. Okay, this is a good answer, but again, we don't know what type of coping strategies that we are going to provide to the client. So we're going to rule it out. D, encourage the client to discuss her current emotions and feelings. Oh, okay. So this is also a really good option. But so if I go back into my scenario, I know this is my very first session with the client. She's been sexually assaulted and displaced. You completed that safety assessment. She's not in danger to herself or others. You've built a really strong rapport with her, and she feels comfortable speaking to you. So the next thing that you want to do with this client is A, identify the major problems. Y'all are probably like, why not discuss her feelings? Like, that's what we should do. However, the reason why we're not going to do that is we never want to discourage the exploration of feelings or emotions. However, this is going to come after identifying the sources or perceived sources of the problems that that client is facing. So finding alternatives and coping skills, as well as implementing an action plan, are all things that are going to come after. So A is going to be our correct answer here. Question 9. During the assessment process, a social worker learns that a client's self-reporting is incomplete. What approach would most likely improve self-reporting? All right, so in this scenario here, the only things that we really need to be focused in on is we know that we are in the assessment process, and we need to know what is going to help our client improve self-reporting. So, which one of our answer selections is going to most likely improve self-reporting? We have A, guided imagery, B, role play, C, journaling, or D, family input. So when we look at all of our answer selections here, the thing that's going to really help improve our client with the self-reporting, with increasing that, is going to be C, journaling, because this is going to come directly from the client, and it allows the client to be fully in the moment and write down or document everything that has occurred. And then they can also go back and refer to it. And that's going to help that overall self-reporting the most. All right, last question, y'all. Question 10. All of the following elements are components of a mental status examination except. Okay, so this question is asking us, what are the components of a mental status examination? You may have heard this referred to as MSE abbreviated, right? So I know when I'm doing a mental status exam, I need to know, are you alert to person, place, situation? Can you recall the year? Can you tell me the current president? I'm also going to be examining that client's behavior during the interview. So, given that what I've said to you all, what is going to be the one that we are going to rule out when we are completing a mental status examination? Is it going to be A, level of reality testing, B, behavior during the interview, C, knowledge of general information, or D, ego strengths? Okay, so the correct answer here is going to be D, ego strengths. These this information is not going to be included when I am completing my mental status examination. All right, change agents. I hope that you all did very well on these quick 10 questions. Make sure that you subscribe, you comment, let me know what all that you all would like to see, and I will see you all in the next video. Thank you.